Where are you off to next?
I don't know where am I next. Okay. Thanks.
I know.
just follow. I'm a prop at this
It's
stage.
one of those things where I promise I'm actually a functioning human outside of the can, but like.
My mistake.
You just left the CMOs in the Spotlight stage. What was your big takeaway from that conversation this morning?
I always love being on the stage with peers, especially if they come from a different industry. And it's so interesting how the CMO role is evolving, but also how we can learn from each other. So all of them spoke about the importance of growth, the importance of impact, and this idea of servant leadership or enabling creativity or leadership. I mean, these were the three big things and they were common.
And how are you seeing the CMO role evolving?
I mean, the biggest transformation I'd like to say is reflected in what I see my role is. I mean, my role also is not just the CMO. We call it the category growth officer, and we call it that for a reason, because it is all about pivoting to growth. When I started my career, in fact, the company I used to work for used to call the marketing department the advertising department.
Yep.
Right? Which made sense at the time because that's what marketers did. They just created advertising and it was easy, 80% of the population would see it. That world doesn't exist anymore, and that type of marketer should not exist anymore because that's not how the world has evolved. Marketers should be about driving growth and driving impact for their business, both business impact and impact on people and planet. So that is reflected in the change of title, but that's reflected in what I think the CMO role should become.
And what skills do you draw on that are not maybe traditional marketing skills to live up to that growth ambition?
I mean, first of all, what I do in my current role and with my current team is we bring all the functions together and bring cross-functional teams. So the traditional, I guess, CMO would have brands and everything structured around brands. We are actually structured around priorities, and we have teams that are cross-functional and not always led by marketing teams. So we have some of the priorities we're working on. We have an innovation team member or an R&D team member leading, and he has different cross-functional team members in their what we call SLAM teams, right? And we structure around these priorities and we build SLAM teams. And it is that cross-functional view and that cross-functional set of skills that I think enables us to move much faster on some of these priorities.
So that all sounds very businessy. How does creativity fit into that?
I mean, creativity is, I think, the anchor of success. I mean, this is why I'm here. I genuinely believe that creativity is a multiplier of growth. And creativity doesn't only mean creative. And the word creative in Cannes, in the context, means creative communication. I think creativity is a way of doing things. And creativity can come from anywhere. And it should help you solve problems.
I want to join your church. Everything you're saying feels so congruent with how I see the world. You know, I came out of a consulting background. I was an English literature major. I thought I was going to write, and accidentally got a job, and fell into it. But I feel like I always sort of bring some of my creative background in literature of putting non-linear ideas together in a way that creates something that couldn't happen if you just looked at it from a linear sequential model. So if creativity is such an essential ingredient for solving business problems, what do you think is essential in the environment you create for your teams such that creativity can blossom?
And I was just sharing my thoughts on this. I think the role of the growth officer or CMO, whatever the title is, I think growth officer should be the new CMO. But regardless of the title, it should be about enabling creativity. Because I believe it's a leadership role, not a marketing role. That is the change. It is leading, organizing around strategic priorities. It is enabling and empowering the teams to deliver their best output and enable them to collaborate.
When do you know it's time to sunset?
An idea or creative, you mean?
Or a campaign like this, how do you know, what feelings do you get or what signals do you receive that say, okay, it's time to move on to the next great idea?
So I'll tell you a very, probably a controversial thought there. Marketers get bored of the ideas way before consumers. So the reason I say that is, this is a very tricky question and we ask ourselves all the time. I think it should always come back to, what is your brand stand for? What is the vision of the future? Is this consistent with where we want the future of the brand to be? And then, is the consumer fed up of it? Is the consumer tired of it or not? A lot of the times we change much faster than we should, and we think it is what consumers want, and a lot of times it's not. So there are a lot of tools that we use, but one of the things that we want to push for is more consistency.
Amen. That was amazing. Really inspirational. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much.